welcome. My name is Tori Peters. I am a teen entrepreneur and author of the book, The Power of Words for Teens. So every day for the next 80 or so days, I am going to be uploading a video in this little series. It's sort of the playlist on YouTube. It's called Deep Thoughts with Tori. I don't know how deep they are, but you know, I liked that name. So today is day 9. Now, most of the videos in this series are sort of motivational, inspirational topics. I'm really trying to make my channel like super encouraging, but some of my videos are going to be, you know, just for fun, just to sort of make some friends and share my interests on my YouTube channel. And that would be what today's video is about. Today's video, I am talking about D&D and what D&D is. Now, D&D, or the actual name for D&D, is Dungeons and Dragons. Now, I'm probably going to refer to it as D&D throughout this video, just because Dungeons and Dragons is a mouthful to say. D&D is considered a tabletop game. In order to play D&D, you have to have at least one Dungeon Master, or more commonly referred to as DM, and one player. Although typically a game will consist of one Dungeon Master and 3 to 6 players. Obviously these numbers can change depending on if like Dungeon Masters want to work together, or if you know you have a lot of players or a tiny amount. It's really up to your Dungeon Master and how many people your group wants to have in it. A lot of what happens in Dungeons and Dragons happens inside your imagination. I used to describe playing Dungeons and Dragons as sort of you become a book character and you get to decide what that character does, who that character is, and who they become, along with how they react to any situation that gets thrown at them. So throughout the game, you're essentially all creating the story with different characters and how they interact with each other. So to play, you assume the role of a character. You can be an orc barbarian, a halfling thief, an elf archer, or many things in between. The sky is on the limit as far as characters go, and you can mix any of those up together. The Dungeon Master is the one who is in charge of the story. They act as the narrator. They play any non-player characters, or also referred to as NPCs. They describe scenes and settings, as well as set up monsters and fights beforehand, so the characters have something to really overcome throughout the game. When you start as a player character, you are going to need, at the very least, these 5 things. So, the first thing is a character sheet. Now, I have a video that shows you how to fill out a character sheet, and I'm actually talking about this particular character. So if you want to know how to fill one of those out, that link will be in the description below, but you are going to need that, and that is very important because most of the story ends up happening using that character sheet, and it tells you things like, you know, what you're good at here, and skills down there, and you know how many points you can get hit for and not die if a monster attacks you, or if you end up attacking a monster. So those are very important things, and that is probably one of the most important things for a D&D game. You are going to need a character sheet. Another thing is you are going to need a pencil. I repeat, pencil! Because the things on your character sheet do change constantly. So you need a pencil with an eraser. Very important. This is like your sword. It is very necessary. Use a pencil. Number 3, you are going to need a set of dice. These dice are very, very important because they tell you whether or not you succeed in doing things. Probably the most important one is a D20, and the cool thing about D20s is if you roll a natural 20, which doesn't always happen very often, if you roll a 20, then you automatically succeed in anything you do. Now, some DMs don't use this rule, but most do because it, like, makes it so much cooler. And it gives you, like, the sense of, like, yes! If you do roll a natural 20 and you get to succeed in, you know, chopping the monster's head off with one go, like, all snap. You just did something amazing there, right? Okay. So, or you could roll a natural 1. And rolling a natural 1 means that instead of pushing the monster off of that cliff, instead you gently caress him. And he feels uncomfortable. Or you hand him your sword and he is grateful. And yeah, rolling a 1 is not good, but rolling a 20 would counteract that one, or you automatically succeed in whatever you do. So that's why these dice are very, very important. Right, number 4, the thing you're going to need. Number 4 is a model. Now this one didn't come with ears, but I made them because I played a fox person. You're going to need this teeny tiny model here, and some DMs, and this one's a little bit optional because some DMs like have models that they want you to use, and some people won't let you use their models. But you are going to need a model at some point because these are going to tell you like where the monster is, where you are. It's sort of a placeholder on the little mats and graph paper or whatever for the map that you will be on, depending on if your DM likes to use models. Some people just like to use it in complete imagination. You just figure like, hey, I'm probably close enough to hit this person. So that's sort of just how that works, but you'll probably need a model at some point. So I personally like to go ahead and just buy all the supplies I need when I start playing a game, but then I've got all the supplies I need for when I'm playing. So, and the very last thing, this is very, very, very important. You are going to need provisions for your journey. Soda and Doritos, or chips, depending on. Normally it's like Doritos and Mountain Dew, but I didn't have either of those in the house, so I've just got like Canada Dry and some, I don't have any chips in here because I don't bring food in my room. But you're going to need those. Those are very important for your quest. Yeah. Those are the 5 things you need to start playing. I know. If you're not thinking it right now, you probably did at some point during this video or just in general. The Dungeons and Dragons role-playing games? Seriously? That's for nerds, dweebs, geeks. Those games are only for people who are weirdos that are 35, can't get a date, and forget they have Cheeto dust in their beards. Alright, so if that were true, does that mean that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Robin Williams, Vin Diesel, Stephen King, Felicia Day, and Tim Duquesne, does that mean that all these celebrities in different professions like the NBA, actors, authors, and comedians are just lamos who will never move out of their parents' basements? D&D isn't just for social outcasts who can't function in normal society. My family is pretty geeky. My grandpa worked on computers at IBM a long, long time ago, and was the first in his family to go to college. My mother built my brother and I a computer when I was 7 and my brother was 5. My brother, who is now 16, has learned 3 or so programming languages and is developing 2 apps, and my dad played D&D and other role-play games like Shadowrun when he was back in college. So I've grown up in an environment where nerd things aren't particularly a bad thing. So I started playing D&D around 3 or 4 years ago. My speech and debate friends put together a group and we started playing. There are actually a lot of benefits to playing D&D. The first one is problem solving. There are many things that you could encounter during a game of D&D. For example, say you were sent to rescue the mayor of a small province. You could encounter an orc guard along the way. How would you handle the situation? Would you run in, swords drawn, ready to slay the orc? Would you send in a female companion to seduce the orc and distract him? Would you try to reason with him or bribe him to switch to your side? The possibilities are really as limited as your imagination. Remember, that's only one situation as well. What if there was a trap? Do you disarm it? Do you trigger it using a goblin you've captured beforehand and send him rolling down the hallway? Or other just random things like that? Do you just make the trap explode and have it not go off anymore? You'd be surprised of the insane solutions players come up with in a game to solve problems that are thrown at them. All of these situations train your mind to come up with out-of-the-box solutions to problems. D&D helps you build teamwork skills. Unlike games like Monopoly or Battleship or even chess, in the D&D, the party or the group of players has to work together in order to accomplish anything. Every player has different skills and things they can do. Some use magic, others are really good at just beating people up and taking damage. We call them tanks. Each player character knows their own strength and so is valuable in different tasks. All players have to work together. If a party isn't on the same page, the elaborate plan that the thief had to sneak around the back and scope out the bad guy's secret hideout goes out the window because the barbarian came crashing through the front door too early. D&D is way more fun when you play together and work together as a team. So in order to build, and since the point of D&D is to have fun, it is in everyone's best interest to work together. D&D can be a therapeutic outlet. Right before I started playing, my youth roller derby team disbanded. Roller derby had been my outlet for a long time. If I was mad or was having a bad day, I could just knock a few friends on their butts and get knocked on my butt in return without getting in trouble or hurting someone else's feelings or actually hurting them. Without that outlet, sometimes frustrations and tempers would build. So when I got started playing D&D, it became my replacement outlet. There's something extremely therapeutic about beating the snot out of a bad guy or getting the final blow on a particularly big monster. Just saying. And at the end of the day, none of it is real. The world pauses when you leave the table, but for a little while, you don't have to worry about if you can pay the bills or about that sick family member. D&D is an escape into a new world where fights take an hour and walking to another city takes 5 minutes. So one of the nice things about D&D is, you get to just be yourself or be someone else for just a little while before you return to the real world. Building characters. So everyone in D&D plays a character. They have to decide if they are going to be good or evil or just neutral in general. Does your character have a strong moral code? If we go back to that orc guard situation, if your party kills him, does that still mean that your character is good? Do you even care? As your character develops, so will your character in real life. If you play a brave and charming character, you will probably find yourself in real life mirroring those attributes and becoming a little bit braver and a little bit more willing to take risks. D&D is a good place to build experiences. Back to the taking risks topic. D&D allows you to take risks without a whole lot of real-world experiences. It's kind of like with small children. Little children learn by playing with each other. They learn by making mistakes while playing, so they don't actually have to worry about making those mistakes in real life. They learn how to treat each other and what's the best way to go around with, they'll trade candy or whatever, and what's the best negotiating ways to do that. Little kids learn a lot from playing, and so do adults. They just don't play very often. So, just like in D&D, our lives are built on experiences. In D&D, you get points for learning and growing. In life isn't actually that cool. It's not like we have like this meter of like experience points in real life, which would be really awesome, but we don't because we're not that cool. But in real life, the more experience you have, the more valuable you become to others, and the more interesting you become, just like in D&D. Because of the game, you can practice taking risks in character in D&D, so when you come to a choice in real life where you can either take a risk and get the reward, or stay where you are and nothing changes, you can be a little more confident in your choices because you've practiced the skills in D&D. Creativity and imagination. D&D heavily relies on your imagination. You don't actually get up and simulate a battle, as much as a few of you might actually think that. It's not how D&D works. They'll give you funny looks if you do that. And you don't always automatically succeed in the things that you try to do. Sometimes when you're rolling your dice, you roll a 1 and spectacularly fail. Sometimes you make an entire city explode by setting fire to a clogged sewer system with a lightsaber. I mean, what? That's a really long story. Anyway, without imagination, none of this would be fun, and it's one of the few places that adults can be themselves and use their imaginations creatively without being judged or without having to have like a job at Disney, Pixar, or anything like that. You are required to bring your imagination to complete the story and the picture. That's one of the most beautiful parts about the game. It's all just fun and make-believe. Now, I would like to address a thing that I have run across a few times in telling people that I play D&D, and I think for Christians, D&D has this negative stigma. One of the reasons for this is when D&D first came out, there was a film made that painted the game as, I guess, for lack of a better way to say it, satanic. I saw a video on YouTube explaining the film and the stigma against D&D, and I will link that video in the description below, assuming I can find it. I haven't actually looked for it. It was my friend showed the video to me. But I should be able to find it and link it in the description for you guys to see and understand why there is a stigma to begin with. So I would like to clear this up. D&D, or Dungeons & Dragons, is not satanic. I understand why Christians don't like it for the same reason they don't like Harry Potter. Yes, D&D does have magic, and demons and such are in the game, and there are a few little G-gods in there as well that some characters will sort of be required to have in order to play a character. But the players know as much as anyone that all of these things are fake. They're figments of your imagination. The magic isn't real. It's all make-believe. It's not like the players are summoning demons or by using, demonic chants or casting actual spells and like saying spells when they cast it. Or, actually sitting down and like worshiping a fake god. Like, no, none of those things happen. You do things and you're like, well, we roll this dice and this thing is like conjured. Or you're like, I cast fireball, and that's literally all you say, and then you roll a die to see if you hit the monster. Or you just say, well, I need to sit down and like pray to my god. And that's all it is. That's the magic in D&D. It all just happens in your imagination. And now there are probably a few groups who like might try and like do those things, but if you're a Christian, one, you probably won't be around any of those groups. You won't be able to find them. And two, don't go to it. And three, if you do come across a D&D group that is like summoning like demons or like casting, like trying to cast actual spells or like using chants and things, like get out for one thing. Like do not mess with that stuff because that is freaky and that should not be a thing. Do not go near those people. Like, honestly, you really shouldn't play. Like, if there's a group that's doing that and you know that, then you should not show up to that group. You should go find a new D&D group because that's not cool. That's just freaky. Don't do that. That is not stuff to mess around with. So, now, if you are below the age of 16 and your parents don't want you to play D&D, you honestly should respect your parents. Like, I promise you, your parents are just trying to protect you and they just don't want you to, you know, get yourself into trouble. So if your parents don't want you messing with that because you are a Christian, then honestly you should respect your parents. And like it says in the Bible, like honor your father and mother, like respect your parents and their wishes. It comes to a certain point where your parents should trust you to be an adult, but until then you really should listen to your parents. They're not trying to ruin your fun. They just want to make sure that you're being protected. D&D is a fun game that allows you to use your imagination. I could be a knight who slays a dragon, or a druid that turns into a hawk and flies over the fortress in order to spy on them, instead of just a 19-year-old girl who has school and is trying to start a YouTube channel. It's up to me who I want to be. I'm in control of my character, and I get to decide whether or not they become a noble person or a murder hobo. D&D allows me to escape the mundane parts of my life for a few hours before I have to return to the real world and live my life. Your life shouldn't revolve around D&D, but it's honestly alright to look forward to game night every week. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a great way to build friendships and community. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this has sort of explained what D&D is for you. I will probably do another video explaining like exactly how to play at some point here in the near future. If you are new to D&D and want to know how to build a character, I sort of mentioned it before, but I will be leaving the two-part video, I guess for lack of a better way to say it, series in the description below. It will have the two parts of how I make my characters, and I really build a character alongside you guys, and you get to see the exact process that I personally use in building a D&D character. Right, so remember I talked about doing a video every day for 80 days, and if you want to see more of those videos, you should totally subscribe because there will definitely be more. I am positive of that. So tomorrow's video should be a cover. I haven't actually decided what the cover is on yet, but I've narrowed it down to 2 songs, so we'll see what I end up doing. I am absolutely positive that D&D will be coming up in more future videos just because it's one of my favorite hobbies and it's just super fun to talk about. So until next time, have a great adventure today, and don't let your lights go out. Bye, guys. Number 3, you are going to need a set of dice. Let's see if I can get it in the camera. There we go. I don't know how to do this without making them fall. There we go. Oh, I lost one. Okay.